Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna start you off easy. What makes a message powerful in rap? Or in just with yourself, Akimi, it'll be lyric writing. But let's go with Jay. Really, what makes a message powerful?
I think purpose and intentionality, like particularly in these times where there's a lot of polarizing content, I think realizing that you have a perspective and a voice and a story that you can tell. You know, no one's lived your life, no one's from your community, no one's from the specific environment and demographic that you are. And I think it's tapping into that and realizing that everyone has a story that deserves to be told. And then in that is where that uniqueness lies, I guess.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. Can I interject with that as well?
Yeah.
Because can I say that's the content that you're talking about? Is it also the delivery as well, or is it a mixture of both that makes the message powerful? What would you think?
I think it's the mixture of both. I think like your delivery is something that evolves over time. I think that a lot of the time when you start, particularly with rapping, you imitate a lot of the people you're inspired by. So like if you listen to a lot of my earlier stuff, when I was on boom bap hip hop stuff, I was just basically like Lupe Fiasco's flow, and it was from experimenting with that I found my own. So I think it's that, and also giving yourself time to do that as well. Like you're not going to be polished from day one, so just embrace it as a learning journey.
Amazing, yeah, great answer. And yourself, Akimi, like, what do you think?
For me, when starting to make music, I was very obsessed with lyrics, and that felt like an important part of the process. I would keep diaries and think of like poetry and stuff would come to my head, and I was like, I'm going to use this one day. And as much as like a lot of my songs are about love and stuff, and you could say, oh, that's cute, but it's about feeling. And when I feel things deeply, I like to put that into paper.
Love can be empowering.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just something I've always been obsessed with writing about, and just finding different ways to talk about that feeling. And I think lyrics, but also like the melody for me, especially in a song, like the chorus, it hooks you. And I kind of want the melody to feel like you're falling in love, kind of thing.
Okay, so it's love for you then, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, cool, I love that. All right, so how much of your writing process would you say is sort of spontaneous, or how much is structured where you're sort of going through your bars and you're meticulously writing, or how much just comes to you?
I think for me it's different. So like I do rap and then I also do poetry. My poems I don't edit at all. So like how I feel and what I say in that moment is what it is. But with my raps, I'm quite meticulous with it. It depends as well on the energy of the song. If something's a bit more fun and a bit more playful, then I don't perhaps need to be as meticulous. But if there is that intentionality of something I really want to communicate, then I'll give it the time that's needed for sure.
What about you?
I think earlier on I was a bit more spontaneous, and I used to freestyle a lot on like different beats and then take parts that I liked, and I used to love that process. As like years continued, it's nice to find new ways to make music, because it can get samey, it can get boring, or like you don't feel inspired that way. So I don't do that as often anymore, but I tend to think of like melodies first and find words to fit into that, or sometimes random word generate and see what we can come up with. I just find it nice to find different ways to write music. So sometimes when you're in a slump and you think, oh my God, I can't write anything, you've got like different like ways to think of lyrics, and it doesn't feel like sometimes you're wasting a session if you're thinking of different ways to write a song. It's cool.
I hear that. Because obviously we all go through writer's block from time to time. So finding different methods that sort of can steer us along or act like that catalyst to sort of inspiration again is, it's always a good thing to have things like that. That's not at our disposal. So I'm going to move on. How do you approach storytelling in your lyrics? Or do you ever tell stories in your lyrics? And if you do, how important do you think it is to tell a story in your lyrics?
I think it is important, very important. Sometimes I like that you can write a song and you think it's about something, but someone takes it a totally different way. I love that. I'm like, oh my God, I never thought of that, but that could so be it. So even if you have a story, someone might interpret it differently, but that's beautiful as well. And it's just nice to tell a story, and it be interpreted differently. I think that's magical.
Okay, yeah, I like that. That's following on to my next question, but I'll come to that. But no, that's a good point.
I think for me, I kind of write what I feel, and then I guess the story comes out that way. So it's kind of like a different approach. So if I've got a particular feeling, I'll lean into that, and then the story comes via that, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's kind of hard trying to explain your process when you stand outside of yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah, from the outside looking in. But we're trying, it's a panel today, guys, so we are going to try for you. All right, so what I wanted to ask following on from that question is, do you think that your lyrics should be open to interpretation, or should they always have a clear intended meaning behind it? And obviously you touched upon that, so kind of guessing you don't.
I don't mind what you interpret from my music personally. When I listen to music, I listen to it for a feeling and whatever message I get from it. So I'm not precious if you think it's about something different. I'll always explain, like if you come to one of my shows, what my songs are about. I like to yap between the sets, so you'll be able to hear the story, but it's kind of nice to hear, oh, this makes me feel this and this reminds me of this. It's kind of nice for you to do your own thing. Yeah. But I understand people might hate that. But
me personally, I'm with you. I think lyrics, songs, they're like stories, isn't it? They're your perspective on the world. So it makes sense that people will see it a bit differently because they've gone through different experiences. Exactly. They've had different, they've seen different things in their life. So it makes sense that they will internalize things different than we would, or look at things different than we would. The same words. It's like when I used to be in English, like do English at school, and the one essay question that they gave you, people have different answers to that one question that was given, even though we've all read the same book.
Exactly.
So yeah, I see that as lyrics. What do you think, Jay, as well?
What was the question again?
One sec, I'm gonna have to unlock my phone.
My bad.
All right, so the question was, do you think that rap lyrics or lyrics in general should be open to interpretation, or should they have a clear intended meaning behind them?
Open. I think it's a fine line between both. I think that particularly in rap, intentionality is key because it's an art form that's used to disseminate information. If you're looking into the principality and the elements of the founding elements of hip hop, knowledge is one of the most important ones, and it's about sharing information with other people and educating and elevating communities. But at the same time, in order to do that, there needs to be that level of interpretation. I might have information about a particular cause that I want to share with you, but you may not be in the space where you need to be in order to hear it and let it ring true. So I think having a layer of openness within your lyrics so people can apply their own meaning to it and reach the desired meaning over time is, for me, what makes great art.
Yeah, that's right. 100%. I like that. All right, I'm going to move on. So has your craft evolved over time? Like, how long have you been writing for now? Do you think have you changed the way you've wrote, your styles of writing, your styles of sort of coming up with lyrics over time? And yes, Akemi, I'm talking to you. Look into whether it's Jay's question.
No, it's me.
You can
as I touched on it before, I've been making music since I was a teen. I'm 26 now. I'm not that old. Like definitely like 17, I really took songwriting to its extreme, and I really enjoyed doing it and doing it often. And as I said, I used to just randomly think of words that I was always going to use and keep it in a book or on my phone. And I was like, I'm going to use these one day. And throughout the years, and like maybe taking music a bit more seriously in a way, and like having more opportunities, my kind of brain changed, and I wasn't thinking these lyrics all the time. And maybe I had to find different ways to.
Why was that? Can I ask why do you think you stopped? Do you think it was just more live? You do more, or what?
Yeah, I keep asking myself this question as well. I think because I was like in school, I was doing like English, and I was doing like, I don't know, I was reading often, and then like when life hit, I don't know, like my brain got a little bit more clouded.
Sometimes I think I have to read more books.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe I need to read. Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, just my brain changed, and maybe like more opportunities and maybe some kind of pressure, like my brain changed a bit, and I had to think of different ways to write. Especially when I was doing it more often and like being in the studio, finding different ways to write. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm not coming out with nothing. So yeah, again, like just working with new people, like writing together, thinking of random words, that kind of thing. There's loads of things to do, but yeah, it's definitely evolved. But just because of like situations and like growing up, I think my brain's just changed a
So
bit.
that's what's influenced
Yeah.
the growth. You just like
Yeah.
growing. What about yourself, Jay? Has that changed over time for you? What has been the influencer of your growth? Yeah. And has it influenced your growth, the change in sort of writing styles and
100%. So like I used to be similar to Akemi when she was younger, writing a lot of stuff on my own and just using it as a space to unpack myself, but also my thoughts and how I kind of engage with the bandwidth that is this space and this country and, you know, our lived experiences here. I think the turning point with me was going to Jamaica to record my last album, Homecoming. We recorded it in Bob Marley's studio, Tough Gong. I got to work with some amazing producers and songwriters. And the first day there, we essentially treated it like a camp, which was so different for me as a rapper. Like, you know, in it, OneDa, there's an ego thing about it being your pen behind the lyrics. And it was like, we don't often like to share that. One, because it's like a peace of mind space. Like when you're writing, you can be quite vulnerable in a way that you might not want to share.
It's like rules of the game.
Yeah. And
well,
also,
we see it as that though, don't you? You see it
Yeah.
like engraved, like you cannot have. That's why ghostwriters get so much stick if you have, but where a singer can have a ghostwriter, that's standard.
yeah, it's like a double standard. But it was great because like, whilst I was writing my own lyrics, I had people who were way more successful than me and I was able to bounce these ideas off them and they pushed me into spaces artistically that I didn't know were possible. And my writing game has changed since then. So yeah, I think a little cheat code I can give you is don't be afraid at collaborative writing early on in your journey, because as an artist, I think that held me back for a long time.
No, million percent. I've been on a few writing camps recently. I never used to go on writing camps. I did one earlier in the year 2024 in Greenland, and that blew my mind to how differently I approach writing. And I was working with sort of singers, composers. So it's different to who I would normally work with. It's not just putting on a beat. Like, we was out in the wilderness, so we had no beats. They had instruments. So one had a guitar, the other one had a keyboard that had batteries in that we could take around with us. And it was just writing in a different space, really. And I would sort of bounce some stuff off to them and OneDa, why don't you put this word instead? I was like, what? Don't you dare tell me what words. At first I was feeling like that. I'm not putting, even though I'm writing it thinking, right, it's actually sounds a bit better than what I wrote. But in my heart I was thinking, they cannot give, but then you know what I mean? I ease off and then I realized that, right, it's about collaboration. It's about whatever makes that piece better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Maybe even not even better, but it's expanding on. You don't know everything, and sometimes you can't see sometimes that melody from there or that word from there because you're looking at it in your one way. So I do fully think, but what you said, like,
I think also like with the collaboration, it's a gift. Like the way in which the gift that we all possess in here, being able to take in our surroundings and interpret them in a unique way, doesn't come from within us. It comes from other spaces, and sometimes having another artist there can help guide you down that path. Like the opening track to my album Fields was a poem that only existed because Choir, one of the writers I worked with, told me to take my shoes and socks off and dig my feet into the Jamaican soil because the ancestors had a message for me. And that song came out in its whole entirety after doing that. So it's working with people sometimes that also understand that there is something in you that can be pulled out in another way. It's just that you're not at that space where you're ready to see it yet.
If it's at like Blackpool, Pleasure Beach, like, then that will help us. Like, don't know how much that will help, guys, but can try. Okay, but next question to you, Akemi. How do you craft lyrics that truly resonate with your audience? How do you think you do that? How do you get that across?
Ooh, I think when I take it too seriously, nothing comes out. And you know, when you're like, I must make a hit, or I must make this, or it needs to be this. When I have an expectation, I feel like I come up with like rubbish, like the worst song, and I'm like, ooh, this ain't good. But I guess when I just go there with like a free mind and just say whatever, or I'm like, I feel like this today, let's just do it. I feel like something authentically me comes out, and I feel like then my listeners love it because it feels not forced and it still feels me. Because I feel like I've tried quite a lot of like sounds in a way, tried like slightly different beats and stuff like that, but I still feel like the vibe is always me. I'm like on the chill vibe, and it's always like me. You can hear it, even if I've tried like slightly different, like a bit more up tempo and stuff. But I think because I go in there and just like, oh, we'll make what we make, I feel like it just flows through me, and then it makes an Akemi Fox song. I don't know. Yeah.
No, I like that on yourself as well. I've got a question bouncing off that as well about styles, but I'll let you answer that one first in terms of how do you craft lyrics, or is there a way that you craft lyrics to make it truly resonate with your audience?
I think for me now, I guess I used to try and focus on the audience, and I think perhaps that's why some of my earlier works didn't do so well. I think the minute I stopped thinking about the audience and just made art that I wanted to make, that's when things started to kind of click in place for me. And so I think like Homecoming, when I made the album, I didn't care about what anyone thought. I was just like, I want to go back to Jamaica. I want to retrace my ancestors' steps, and I want to go on this journey for myself as a human being. Like, fuck the music. I don't even know if we can swear. I'm sorry if I can't. But yeah,
I
drop.
think this is university, isn't it? University level. Yeah, you can. It's
Yeah,
cool.
cool. Fuck the music. Like, as a human being, I need to do this just to find my peace. And so when I was there and I was documenting it and writing these songs, I'm not thinking, oh, this is going to be a hit or this is going to reach. It's just what was feeding my soul. And so I think for me going forward now, that's my focus.
No, I love that. I love that. And I think as artists, that should always be our focus, really, isn't it? Just go with the flow, really. Don't be so rigid with it and structured, because I think music it's subjective. It's however you feel, really, isn't it? And it's subjective for the audience to either take that or not take that as well. We can't force feed them stuff. What would you say in terms of rap or being a singer? Do you think we have a responsibility to touch on social issues, or do you think no, that's if you choose to, you choose to, but it's not a responsibility as mainly as a rapper, but as a singer as well? Do you think you have to? Because I know that rap it was the voice for injustice, isn't it? That's how it started off. So Jay, this question to you first. Do you think that we have to always speak about everything that's going on in the world, or can we just talk about the last party that we had or the girl that we want to link, or can we just stop?
That's
that
mad. I think it's making art that's appropriate and that shows the checks and balances of life. Like anything other than that is just glorification without actually discussing the issue. And I think that not everybody has to be a socially conscious artist. You know, there is amazing, like when I'm in the gym, I don't really want to listen to, I don't know, like Lupe Fiasco giving me a dissertation on the state of political America. I need some gets or something like that to get me hyped so I can lift these weights and go about my business. So there's like sets of music that you need for different bits of that, and it's understanding that who you are as an artist and where you sit within that. So if you are a political artist, it's then finding the checks and balances, because not everybody wants to hear political content all the time, so you have to balance that. But also then if you're someone that just wants to make party rap, for example, it's then providing the other side to that coin. So party is fun, but also what do the lows look like after the party's gone, when people have gone home, when you've got no money, when your bread's low, when you're seeing people winning on socials? What's that like, trying to navigate that? So yeah, I don't think you have to be a politically charged artist, but you have to make art that reflects the checks and balances of life.
Yeah, man, I like that. And so you yourself, Akemi, do you just have to write about love, or can you expand?
You can write about whatever you want. Yeah, I would say, yeah, similar to what you were saying. Like, it's important to use your voice maybe where you can, but I don't think it necessarily always has to be in your music. It could be like in life and like at shows and when you're speaking to people as well. If it doesn't feel like it's meant to be in a song, it's like what other ways could you spread that message or talk about something? But yeah, I guess it does depend on like the artists and like the topics that they usually speak about. But also, if you feel like you want to say a message, there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like people will listen to that.
Okay. I'm gonna jump off the back of that sort of question that I asked you. So, in your lyrics, do you think that writing from another perspective other than your own, or another persona other than your own, is something that you would experiment with, or have you ever experimented with a view that's not your own, but writing about that, if you know what I mean, from a different perspective?
I guess.
Like a for and against argument of you been like, do you know what I mean? Wrote the counter argument to your own views.
No, I haven't, but that's interesting.
It's interesting, isn't
I
it?
want to do that now. yeah, the only kind of like writing from a different perspective is like when I'm like doing songwriting with other people and we're like, what do you want to say? And I put myself in their shoes. But no, I haven't done that. But that's like an interesting thing to do. Yeah. That'd be like an interesting workshop to do, to like,
Really,
little,
would
like
I be you, you be me.
Yeah, let's do it.
Swap, yeah. But go on, Jay. What do you think?
Nah, I've not done anything like that. I guess the closest I've come to is like writing camps and workshops where, like Akemi was saying, where you kind of take someone else's experience or their perspective and add it to what you're doing. But no, I think it'd be a really interesting exercise to do. I might do that as homework still.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think it'll be good. So how do you then refine your lyrics then? The lyrics that you get now, how do you refine them to make them hit on a song? Because it's taking it from just you writing either your phone or your pad. How do you then think, okay, I've got a beat now, I'm going to translate it onto this beat to make it hit?
So for me, I write directly over the beats. So when I'm presented with the beat, I'll write to it. I think what I tend to do, what I did on the album was I'd kind of go and, if I had a straight idea that I wrote, I'd go and lay it. But for some songs that took a little longer, like Black Flag, I'd go and I'd kind of do like a melody track over it where I could play with what my flow is going to be like. And then I'd sit, if I knew what the flow was going to be, and then I'd sit and I'd engineer the lyrics to fit within that cadence because that song had a particular flow.
Do you find that harder to do, bro, or do you find it easier to do when you've done? Because I sometimes try and do that. But anyway, do you find it harder or do you find it easier?
I think it's harder to do because you almost have to rein yourself in, because if you're just flowing and you're not necessarily saying words, you can come with all these different types of cadences, and then it's actually being like, well, how do I fit words in this?
Yeah, trust me. Yeah.
And make the syllables balanced and all of this stuff. So it's hard.
Yeah, I sometimes do what you said. Like, I usually write to the beat. I used to write beforehand, but I don't do that anymore, which I don't know why. But it's nice to fit melodies, because sometimes you can think, wow, that is like the perfect melody for a chorus. But it is tricky when you obsessed with the melody and nothing fits in it, and you're like,
that's
this
a night when nothing fits. Oh, it hurts your heart, especially when you nearly have to change the melody sometimes, and it's like, no, because you really
yeah, I've spent like so many sessions like trying to like make it fit, like using every word ever. I'm like, and then I've just had to scrap it, and it feels like I'm like, oh no, it's like so upsetting. But I guess, yeah, maybe don't get too precious on it, because I think that like it's upsetting when lyrics don't fit to that. So that doesn't always work for me. Sometimes it's just whatever flows through, and I'm like, okay. And I keep saying this word, and then it comes up with different words. It's just trial and error, basically. Yeah.
Okay, so going off that as well, do you ever write with a specific audience in mind, thinking, okay, I'm going to write this and this is going to reach this person, or this is for these guys, or this is for that like group of people, or do you just write and then it hits whoever it hits?
At the moment, I'm kind of, I'm just having some fun with my music, and I'm in my fun party girl era. So I'm like, this is for the girlies. And
for the fun party girls.
Yeah, like I'm just being unserious, and
it's the best way, really, isn't it?
And just, yeah, and so that's in mind. People like me that just want to have a fun time, and I know that's not like very deep and profound, but that's how I'm feeling.
It doesn't always have to be.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like in life, we're not always in. I think it'll be very boring life if we're always serious and deep thought all the time. That's not how life is. So it goes in ebbs and flows. You know what I mean? Sometimes we're in deep thought. Sometimes we just want to be up and not really think about anything.
At the
do you know
moment.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, man. What about you?
I'm really bad. I've forgotten the question. I'm sorry.
No worries. It's like, when you write, do you have a specific audience in mind when you're writing, or are you thinking, okay, I'm writing for this particular group of people, or is it you writing whoever resonates with this?
I think it depends. I kind of flip-flop between them. So like, for example, with my album, I knew specifically that I wanted to write something for anyone that's a descendant of a diaspora. Like growing up here, we know that we have one part of identity, which is where we know where we're born, but we also have our familial identity. And I wanted to write something that was exploring that duality. But then what's been a cool byproduct of that is then that's translated into other conversations. Like when my project came out, I had a really in-depth conversations with one of my brethren who was like, I'm going to go look at my Welsh heritage because I've never even thought that, you know, I've got this Welsh heritage there through my grandma and I just don't even really bother with it. So I think I've thought about the audience in terms of that, but then the following up material that I've got, I've just kind of been creating, like Akemi was saying, off vibe, what I feel like in that space and just having fun with it. I think you kind of need to after doing such a serious thing. It's like having that ebbs and flow and the checks and balances.
Yeah, you really do. This is a bit of a random one, but are there like any words or phrases that you sort of go to, or words or phrases that you think, nah, I can't say that ever? Like, the any like ones that you cross off your list forever, never to use, or ones that you sort of...
I feel like
I know you do, so I'm gonna Jake could go first, but yeah.
I feel like in freestyle, there's always like the same phrases that you go to if you're freestyling, or if you're a radio and they're like rap. There's like set bars that you know that you can draw for every time, but then it's so I'm trying to retire certain phrases from my vocabulary for sure.
Why though? Why is that? You don't have to tell us which ones they are if you don't.
Yeah, I'm not hiding myself up.
No, tell us why are they going? Why are they getting dropped?
I just think like,
have you grown out of them?
I feel like I've grown out of them, but then also I just like to always have something fresh, and it's nice to have those ones that are in the back of your mind for if you're caught short and someone wants something from you. But at the same time, I always just want to be growing and elevating, so I can only do that by writing.
Okay, I get that. And yourself, Akemi?
Words that I don't use. Usually, like, you know, alcohol brands. I'm like, this works so well, but I like, it's been done now. Like, I can't do that too. Or like brands, like high-end brands as well. I'm like, this is cute, but I can't do that. It's not my vibe, really. And
so you're not Versace.
Yeah, Prada. But yeah, usually when I write a song, I always just say I don't, and then stuff come like I don't is such a good
I don't.
Yeah, I don't, and then I come up with some good lyrics from it, like the melody. I don't.
I don't want no scrubs.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, it does. It works. That's it. That's amazing. Do you think? What do you think about taglines then? Lines that you are known for, lines that you sort of, or words or phrases that you repeat. Do you think there's a need for taglines? Do you think what do you think about taglines basically?
I think they're fun. I don't personally really have any. There's like songs that are about things, like I've got a song about tea, lemon tea, so I'll always mention
I love
that.
lemon tea. Lemon tea is sick.
And we love tea, so it's the British in me. It comes out when that song comes on.
It's just lemon tea, not normal tea.
Any tea. I don't have a tagline, but I think it's fun when people do, and it's kind of fun when people like start a song with their vibe. But do you have one?
I don't have a tagline, but yeah, like I really like, obviously you've got a tagline. I think it's great. Like, I just wish I had one in it.
Someone write me one, please.
Yeah, someone write us a tagline, please.
Yeah. Write them one. That would be we've got 15 minutes left or so. Yeah. So you can pass it out at the end of the session. So how do you deal with writer's block? Because writer's block is a real thing and it happens. How do you guys deal with it, Jay? Because I know you mentioned things before, but how do you deal with it on a...
I find that when I have writer's block, it's because I'm not living enough. Like, art's supposed to imitate life. So if I'm struggling to write about life, I'm not doing anything that's different from my regular routine. So I try to...
That's a good... I didn't think of that.
That's a good excuse to go out and have fun.
Hella boring.
So like I try to, like, I don't know, go check my family or see some of my brethren, or I don't know, go out for a walk or go for some food, or just do something that's a little bit different just so I can be inspired. I'm like a bit of a weirdo and like walking, so like a lot of times I'll just have headphones on, listening to music and just be cutting about where I live, and it's in those little walks then where I'll find myself getting new ideas and then be able to go back home and work on them.
That's amazing. That's good. I'm gonna try and do things differently than when I have writer's block, I don't try and do anything different. I just keep trying to flog the same hot, do you know what I mean? And then just leave it and think, oh, come back to me in a few days. But I think that few days is, I don't consciously realize that I might be doing other things different, do you know what I mean? But what about yourself?
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, go live a little, and you start to think of things differently. Usually just like going for walks. I tend to not listen to much music sometimes. I feel like because music is so much of my life. I like sometimes just quiet, like when you're like cooking and cleaning. I just really like silence.
Oh my I do that as well, and people think I'm weird. My girlfriend comes into my house and it's silent most of the time. You think, Ross, I thought you like music all the time. But I'm like, no. There's sometimes, because I'm constantly thinking of music, constantly lyrics, sometimes I don't want anything on in my house. And I do cook in silence a lot. Sometimes I only put music on because I know that people are coming in to think, oh, so don't think I'm weird, because why you not got your music on in your house? Do you know what I mean? So I'll put it on just for other people. Do you know what I mean? But normally, like, a lot of the times, it'll go through stages, but a lot of the times, it was to be silent.
I think silence is good sometimes.
Do you like silence, Jay?
Yeah, I think like when we have like a bit of a difficulty sitting in it, it's because we're not really at peace and we need to kind of explore that still. So yeah, silence defo has a time and place. Like you were saying, if you're making music all the time, it's exhausted to be surrounded by it. It's nice to have that break for sure.
Yeah, man. So one last thing for you, especially as a rapper. So can a rapper's flow carry a weak message, or does the substance always have to matter? Or can the flow, like the song, be sick just because it sounds good?
No, like the flow defo catches. I make like political reggae rap, but I like cruddy stuff. So there's like a German gangster rap band I like called 187 Strashen Band. Shout out them, man. They're wily. But yeah, I like listening to their music, and it's the cadence that gets me. I don't speak German, so I have no idea what they're saying. I can tell you it's probably not good by the videos, but it's a vibe. Like the energy's there, and I think the flow will give you the energy that you need, and then the lyrics provides the substance as and when you need it to.
Yeah. I guess I agree. I've got an artist called Nene. She sort of half raps, half sings. She's Portuguese, and I don't know one thing that she says. I think she's sick. So yeah.
I think the melody, that's what you're humming in your head. Sometimes, like, especially if you're first listening to something, you don't really get the lyrics straight away anyway. And for a girl that writes lyrics, I don't know the lyrics to anything. When we're doing karaoke, I'm like, what is going on? But yeah, sometimes I'm just into like how it makes me feel, and how, like, if you're dancing, you just move into it and like going with vibes, and it's so yeah, I just think obviously the substance of it, and when you deep it a bit later, but like if you're just there to listen to it and just get whatever you want out of it, sometimes it's just like the catchy thing that will get you at that time.
I guess it's like got a flip side, isn't it? Because sometimes it's just the flows, but sometimes it's the words.
No,
like
yeah, and I
then
cry.
It's like, whoa, yeah. So then it there, but then as you say, sometimes you don't need them words. It's just how they're saying it hits you. Okay, so one last thing, sort of to give advice to the audience. So what advice would you give to emerging artists that are trying to communicate something meaningful, or just communicate their own message through lyrics and through music?
I'd say have fun with it. I sometimes forget to have fun and take everything too seriously. And as we said, like, when you're in the studio for so long and it gets repetitive and you're going, but it's just like having fun with it, taking a break, like remembering like you're like making music with like your best friends or whoever. And also thinking outside the box sometimes as well. Singing what feels true to you, whatever it might be. Just remember to always have fun. I'm telling myself to do this as well.
Yourself, what advice would you give?
I'd definitely say have fun. I think advice, have fun. Make sure that you're being authentically yourself. And also remember, the world's bigger than your doorstep. A lot of the time, particularly early on in your career, you get really upset because no one in the local environment cares. And I think that one of the biggest things that helped me was realizing that the world is bigger than Manchester, it's bigger than the UK, and your market may not be here. Like, I went to Jamaica and was working with Grammy-winning producers, but over in England, I would struggle to do that. And it's knowing that you can get access to people in other spaces and not limiting yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I'll just finish off saying again, just do you and have belief in what you write. And have confidence in your ability as well, because like Jay said, it will touch someone. There'll be someone there that thinks that you're a vibe. Even if your immediate circle doesn't give you that feedback or love back, keep doing it and keep believing in what you can bring to the table. Because as long as you're doing you, you're going to be a breath of fresh air somewhere.